Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with another Reddit story for you. This one is titled, Will I Be the Astronaut If I Stopped Organizing Birthday Celebrations for My Coworkers? I've 25, worked for the same company for over 3 years, and have been organizing birthday celebrations within the office for about as long. It was something done before I started, but always irregularly. It's not a whole lot, I know, but I bake whatever the birthday person wants and get a card for everyone to sign. Oh shit, OP bakes it. Doesn't go to the store and buy whatever cake they have available already, bakes it. The owner of the company reimburses me for the card, but the dessert is my expense. I work with about 40 people and we celebrate each individually. It's something I genuinely enjoy doing for my coworkers. They all seem into it, though if anyone says they don't want to celebrate at work, I don't force them, and I've learned new recipes. It's fun. They've done the same for me in previous years, and I've been really grateful for it. I'm not from the area and don't know many people outside of work because I'm shy and have some family responsibilities. This year, numerous coworkers told me both before and afterwards that they'd forgotten my birthday. I don't understand how you can forget, but remember enough to tell me you forgot. The GM told me last Wednesday that they had forgotten, but we would all celebrate once I returned to work. I took Friday off for a long weekend and my birthday was over the weekend. I feel like such a loser and still kind of do. One coworker did bring in a cake, which I was genuinely grateful for and thanked her for, but no one wished me a happy birthday and they didn't even do a card. It's the first time that this has happened. I don't really understand why it upset me, but it did. They often forget to give me handouts or to let me know about policy changes. If someone else brings in treats, they don't tell me. Almost everyone there is kind to me. I'm just forgotten about. My boss doesn't seem dissatisfied with my work, and I'm often complimented for the work by management. My coworkers just don't think of me, which might be what really bothers me. I talked to a friend about it, and she said she'd stop organizing the office birthdays if she were in my position. She said it's a waste of my time and that they don't appreciate me. She thinks it's weird that so many people said they forgot. My stepmom said I shouldn't stop organizing the birthdays unless it no longer brings me happiness. I don't know what to do. I like baking for my coworkers and doing cards for them. I just don't want to hurt their feelings or seem like I'm acting out. They just forgot. And to help with some feedback on the story, we have the magnificent, radiant as always, Candy Thunder.
Man, I don't know how I feel about this one because, I mean, obviously she feels hurt. It sounds like her love language is gift giving. She likes doing things for other people, and they didn't reciprocate that. So, yeah, I mean, I would be hurt too. Like if I did this for 40 people, and if I knew that someone was doing this for 40 people, I would make damn sure I did not forget their birthday. Like I would have that on lockdown for the rest of the office because what she's doing is going above and beyond for everyone there to make them feel seen and appreciated and loved, and they couldn't return that. And she said it was just this one time. They forgot it was over the weekend. But yeah, it still hurts. It doesn't stop it from feeling painful because somebody forgot you. And like she said, she doesn't feel appreciated.
Yeah, so. I'm with you. And in the beginning of this, right after finishing reading it, I'm like, well, if you're doing it because you enjoy doing it and bringing other people joy brings you joy, then why would you stop? But if you're doing something that people clearly don't appreciate, why do it? So like bringing them joy makes you feel joy. However, if it brought them the pure kind of joy that OP thought they were creating, then I think they would appreciate it. And if they don't appreciate, maybe they appreciate the attention they get, right? But they don't appreciate OP enough as a person. There you go. To think of them, right? And that sucks. Are these two things intertwined? Like, would you stop? I guess that's my question.
I guess I would need to know, like, if I was in this situation, how much am I being taken advantage of? Because if I'm cooking 40 cakes over the course of 1 year, that's a lot of desserts, and they couldn't remember one day, then yeah, I guess that would be the end for me. Like because if there isn't pain to create change, then they're just going to keep taking more advantage of her. They're not telling her things that she needs to know. They forgot her birthday, and like, I don't know. She seems like she's fading into the background, and I think that they need to understand what it actually feels like for her not to do those things for them.
So we did read another story this past Sunday, and it was about the fantasy football thing, or maybe it was the week before. I don't know. They all blend together. Mm-hmm. But my suggestion then was you need to have everybody start taking turns.
Yes, agreed.
Like everybody, and that would be a solution here. That way the office doesn't miss out on this thing, but everybody needs to get involved. It can't all be on your shoulders. That's one option. Another option is if it still brings you joy to bring them a little bit of attention, do the card. You get reimbursed for that, but don't bake anything. Like there's that little bit of pullback you have there too.
That's perfect. I think that's perfect.
I think the big risk here with stopping altogether is that you did it because it gave you at least a little bit of joy. It's tainted now because you know that you are not appreciated as a human being in this environment. So maybe if you kept going, like you'd feel less joy doing this because it always is going to be a little bit jaded or tainted. However, if you stop doing it, you're going to lose all potential joy that you could have gotten had you done it. So you just have to decide like what feels right to you. You definitely are not appreciated to the level that I think you should be. And I would go from organizing the entire office, like have a sign up sheet. Everybody's got to sign up for something and we're not doing it, period. And have everybody get involved. Then they're a lot less likely to forget because maybe you do a buddy system. I don't know.
This seems like so much.
It's like a simple thing. There's also this one possibility, because this is over the weekend, is it not? It's over the weekend, and like OP has not come back on Monday yet.
But she said they brought a cake.
Oh, okay. They did bring a cake. Okay. I thought maybe like so many people said they forgot because they were planning something bigger, but I guess I shouldn't have got my hopes up there.
I think like being quiet and shy, like I understand what she's saying, and I do things for people and I don't expect the same in return. Like I love to show up for people, buy things for people, get them what they need, bring them meals. Like I love to do those things. It makes me feel good and it fills up my cup. But at the same time, if I ever needed anything, like I feel like those people would show up in the same way. And if you don't get that in return, I don't think that you're going to get joy out of something that now feels like a chore to you, because you know that you're doing it for this reason, and to them it does not mean the same thing. They're just getting their free dessert that you're covering the cost of. So if it was me, I would stop. I wouldn't stop with the card, but I would stop with the cake and just let the chips fall where they may. And if they have an issue, then they need to work together to figure out a new solution and a new path where it doesn't all fall on this one person's shoulders.
Yeah. Okay. Here's a good thought, kind of combining solutions. So start by downgrading to just the card. And then if and when, I'm going to say when they bitch about not having desserts anymore, then it's a really quick, like, hey, you guys should organize a sign-up sheet where everybody takes part. And then that takes the responsibility of trying to enforce or impose this system on the rest of the office off your shoulders. Because doing that, like the simple act of suggesting that to the large group or putting the sign-up sheet up, is going to be perceived as petty and bitchy by the rest of the team there.
For sure.
So you can remove yourself from that imposition, and I think start just disengaging a little bit. And maybe that's it. Maybe don't give so much to people who don't even give a shit that you gave in the first place, or who don't see you. They just see things magically appear.
And I feel like this is like speaking up when something does bother you, whether it's a workplace or not, is you have to have at least enough of a backbone to advocate for yourself when it's important to advocate for yourself. And I'm quiet, I'm shy, like not on here anymore because I've done it enough, but I will advocate for everyone else besides myself. But I think there comes a point where sometimes you have to, pull off that mask and put on a different one and speak up for yourself when it comes to stuff like this.
Yeah. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with yet another Reddit story for you. This one titled, Am I the Astronaut for Cutting the Amount I Contribute to Our Budget After My Wife Refused to Stick to Our Agreement Regarding Our Kids? My wife and I agreed before we got married on a lot of the big things: where we would live, how we would deal with our families, how we would raise our kids, stuff like that. Deal breakers. One of our decisions was that as long as our kids were full-time students, then they would not have to contribute monetarily to the household budget. Obviously, they would still have chores and such. If they weren't full-time students, then they would get a 6-month grace period after which they had to pay rent and buy their own food. Rent would be equal to a quarter of full-time minimum wage work. We agreed on this in 1998. Hold up. Why is this marriage a contractual agreement in which all future is predicted and planned for using business contract models? So this is for like college age and above. It sounds like this is what the scenario is planning for. Our eldest did not want to go to university and used the 6 months after graduation to work, save money, and plan a trip around the world. When he got back, he started an apprenticeship and is now a welder. Our middle kid went to university and is now a nurse. Our youngest did 1 semester of college and decided it wasn't for him. He also decided that he didn't want to work. Okay, well, that's problematic. After 6 months, I told him that he was now responsible for his rent and food budget. He went crying to his mom, saying that he couldn't afford that. She said he didn't have to pay. She didn't discuss it with me first. Yeah, I mean, you guys agreed upon something and she knew it existed and she disagreed with it and didn't tell you. I get it. It was a unilateral decision on her part. She pays all of our bills. I give her a set amount every month to pay for everything. The money she earns, she either spends however she wants or it goes into our vacation fund. Not a stay-at-home parent. These are also 18 plus children. So my hypothetical was way off. So I decided to cut my contribution to our budget by the cost of rent and 1/3 of our grocery bill. I'm red flagging that too. She asked me why I did that, and I said that we had an agreement and that she chose to ignore it, so I did the same. She's been paying the difference out of the money that would normally go into our vacation account, and she cut back on her personal spending, but she is pissed that I am doing this. She says that I'm an asshole for being financially manipulative. How far is financial manipulation from financial abuse? I'm just curious. A toe? I think she needs to either accept it or get her poor baby to grow up. She tried getting our older kids on her side, but they agreed with me. Am I the astronaut? Yeah. Jay Fizzle, I agree with that. Hold the kids accountable, not impact your wife. However, the wife was the dissenter here. The wife was the one who said he didn't have to pay it. You guys were 100% right. Let's get that out of the way right now. This isn't everyone sucks here. It's an everyone sucks here. Okay, because I understand OP's point now, and that she was in breach of contract, which isn't a legally binding thing. It's just something that they agreed upon, right? So let's get that out of the way. But according to OP, and OP feels like she is in breach of contract, so he doesn't have to honor this contract now either. But he is actively punishing her. Now, they're parenting against each other. That's the first you both suck. Because they're just heading in complete opposite directions here. I think the wife did go rogue. I think their agreements that they came up with before they ever had kids and are still sticking to is bullshit. Like that's an unrealistic expectation to create an agreement and a structure based on percentages of minimum. Like that's making it really complicated. But I understand the usefulness for it because it helped your 2 other children like kind of blitz into the real world. Here's the problem. Not everyone can blitz into the real world like that. And your youngest may be one of those kids. Or mom could have just coddled him and that's why he's refusing to launch, right? There are a lot of possible things going on here, but here's what I know. I know that the approach in the beginning that you used with a contract model here sucks. And it's part of the reason that this bullshit has been caused today. Now, she knew the rules or knew the agreement and went against it anyway behind your back, and that made everything worse. You both suck. He does need to grow up. He does need to figure something out, and she's enabling. Can you imagine if we had tried to do this before getting married, Candy Thunder, sat down and be like, okay, if this happens, here's how we're going to approach it. We're going to have a 60-day grace period. We're going to take 1/3 of working full-time at minimum wage, and our kids are going to... Can you imagine if we took that approach? You would not have married me. You'd have been like, oh, I'm going to tell you right now, this ain't going to work. ESH and everybody needs to grow up. Agreed. Candy Thunder says in here, mom needs to explain why it was okay for the first 2 kids and not the youngest. Agreed. I think dad handled it poorly, but she went against the agreed upon approach for their kids. And the fact that she went with that approach for the first 2 kids is the biggest problem here. If whenever it happened with the first kid, she was like, come on, this is bullshit. We agreed upon this before we even got married. Things change. It would be a very different story, but it is not. She followed this plan for the first 2 kids and decided with the baby, she didn't have to. And he didn't have to. So, yeah, now it's just chaos. The second child is still at home paying rent. Yeah. So there's, of course, the siblings are like, no, we're with dad on this one because they had to follow it. And if mom came to them and was like, your little brother shouldn't have to follow this archaic rule, they were like, then why the did we? Of course we're with dad on this. I'm not going to say he gets to not have to follow the system that we had to follow. Bullshit. No, the system's bullshit. But it's what worked for them. She changed the rules for the baby of the family, Meghan Carroll. Yeah, it's OP's overall approach for me that I think trying to treat a marriage and a family like a business is not healthy. And this is, I think, one of the great examples of why. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder once again with another Reddit story for you. This one is, am I the astronaut for not having a burning urge to spend time with my partner's daughter? Burning urge feels like a weird word choice to me. If you have a burning urge, you need to see a doctor. I've been with my fiance for about 1.5 years, and we have been living together about 3 months. He is divorced and has an 8-year-old daughter who lives with us. He shares custody with his ex-wife, but the girl spends a lot more time with us than she does with her, as she is not very willing to visit her mother, especially in the last couple of months. The girl loves me very much and I love her, but I can't seem to develop deeper feelings towards her. What's deeper than love? As I haven't known her for her entire life, only for 1 year or so. I have a feeling that I will never love her as much as her father loves her, which is natural because she isn't my daughter. I haven't given birth to her, and I don't have any maternal instincts as I don't have children of my own yet. When I started dating my fiance, his daughter spent about half a week at his place and the other half at her mother's. In the beginning, we had plenty of time to be alone and spend time with each other. However, since we started living together, it seems as though we have less time for each other because the kid is with us all the time. You get a red flag for using the term the kid. She doesn't want to spend time with her mother. It has honestly become exhausting for me because I like my freedom and I like to be able to relax when I get home from work and spend some time with my fiance, but I can't do that anymore because the kid is around all the time. Another red flag for you. Don't get me wrong, I love her. You're a liar. She's very sweet and kind, but honestly, it's becoming too much, especially because she's home all the time and I can't seem to develop the need to spend time with her or miss her when she isn't around. I don't know how to communicate this to my fiance without hurting his feelings or making it seem like I can't stand his daughter. I knew what I was getting into from the beginning, but the situation has changed as she now spends much more time with us, and I just wish we had more time for ourselves. I feel like our relationship is suffering because of this. I feel like he takes everything I've sacrificed to live with him for granted, and that he feels I have to love his daughter as if I'm her biological mother. Also, it's not like she doesn't have anyone else. Her grandmother, who loves her very much, lives very near, and she could honestly spend some more time there. It's not like she needs to be home all the time. Am I the astronaut for not having a natural urge to spend time with this child and for wanting some time for myself? Okay, OP, there are two separate things going on here, and you're making yourself into a much bigger asshole than is necessary. Let me clear something up for you. Every parent wishes they had more time for themselves. Every parent couple wishes they had more us time. Okay, that's a natural parent thing. However, you're taking it a step further and you are now resenting your partner's child enough to call her this kid or the kid. Like you're resenting her for that. You said you knew what you were getting into whenever you made this decision to be with him, but the situation has changed. Bullshit. Did he have a daughter then? Does he have a daughter now? Nothing has changed. You accepted the risk that she might someday live with y'all full time whenever you got with him, because that's what having a child means. It means you have a child. So you looked at this as she's only going to be around X percent of the time. Okay, I think I could do that. And now that you're in it, you're like, I regret all of this. I thought I'd have a lot more me time. Okay. And I understand. I understand what you're saying. I understand it. But let's just divide this amongst the two halves here and say that the need for more me time and more us time is a common parent thing. You cannot let that need, which is a selfish need, let's just call it what it is. It's a selfish need, and that's okay. You have to fill up your own cup. To be a good parent, you have to fill up your own cup. That's on this side. The other side of it is resenting the child for it. And I'm saying the child, the kid, your partner's daughter. You can't do that as a parent. And if you, I'm calling you a parent because you willingly entered into a relationship where your partner had a child. You get to be a parent. Whether it's a bonus parent or a step parent is up to you. Kind of feeling like you're choosing the stepmom route right now, which is unfortunate. But if you can start to understand that your selfish needs for more you time and more us time are things that are shared with every parent, and start working a solution to those instead of just being pissed off at a child for it, you're going to find yourself in a much healthier and happier place. And you know what? A lot of parents go through this too. Okay. When you're not feeling like you have enough me time or enough us time, you have to be intentional about, number one, communicating that to your partner and being like, hey, I think we really need to schedule some us time. How do you feel about doing a couples weekend next weekend? How do you feel about doing a little weekend getaway? Start planning things. And if you need to fill up your own cup, communicate that and be like, hey, I'm noticing like a stress and anxiety because I haven't been able to do some of the selfish things I like to do before. Would you mind if I took an hour and went did this thing that I really feel like will help fill up my cup? Your partner will appreciate that. Whenever Candy Thunder and I got, I think, emotionally wise enough to start communicating those things and started understanding what was happening, we'd start encouraging each other to do more things that filled up our respective cups. She is great when she can tell that I'm stressed about being like, hey, why don't you go do this thing that I know you love doing this weekend? You need to do something for you. Have a partner like that. I have a sneaking suspicion here, OP, that you are not saying to your partner, have you done anything for you lately? I feel like you need to fill up your cup. It's tough. Oh, Lady Artemis. Oh, says, if this is love to OP, what is hate? What is resentment? You do not love this child, OP. You've convinced yourself that you can put the label of love on it because you willingly entered into a relationship with someone who has a child, but that is not what you're doing. You're saying that you love her, but really you just resent her. And I'm telling you, the more you focus on solutions to filling up your own cup and your couple cup, feels weird to say, but you know what I mean. The more that you do that, the happier you're going to be, the less stressed you're going to be in general. And you're going to start seeing more opportunities to have fun with her, to do bonding activities with her, because you're not going to be so pissed off all the time. Start working the problem, the real problem, instead of just being pissy to a kid about it. It's a you problem. It's on you to fix it. Hey there, it is Dusty Thunder once again with another Reddit story for you. This one is, am I the astronaut for posting a heartwarming video of my friend? I, female 26, have a friend who I will call Max, male 28, who has a foster child, Dexter, male 10. Max is a foster parent and has fostered Dexter for the last 3 years. Max and I aren't super close, but his best friend is my sister, and Dexter is friends with my son. Basically, I don't fully understand the whole fostering thing, but from what I do get is Dexter has been upgraded from a temporary placement to a permanent placement with Max, though not adopted. Dexter will now not be moved away from Max and will not be given back to his real parents. Dexter requested this, but it had to be approved by the courts, which they weren't sure would happen because his real parents have been wanting Dexter back. Last week, Max got confirmation from the courts that Dexter had been made permanent. Max decided he wanted to throw a big surprise party for Dexter to announce this to him. Dexter came home from school and was shocked by everyone being there, and his reaction was super cute. Dexter was super confused as to why everybody was there, but Max told him that they just wanted to celebrate Dexter going into year 6. About halfway through the party, Max started to read out a whole speech. The speech was really sweet and emotional. It spoke about Dexter when he first came to live with Max, how he grew and developed from a small boy scared of the world into a charming and outgoing little man. And at the end of the speech, Max said how he had confirmation that Dexter is becoming permanent and will be living with Max forever, and said something like how he is so excited to be able to see Dexter grow up and into an adult. As soon as Max finished it, Dexter started to sob, ran to Max and said something like, I thought you were going to say I had to leave. And then they just held each other. It was an incredibly cute moment. Now I am an influencer. I do family content on TikTok. I have a decent following, not like crazy big, but enough. I felt really lucky to have caught the speech and Dexter's little, I thought you were going to say I had to leave on camera. And I edited it, which took me ages, and posted it to my TikTok page. It was one of my best performing videos, which made me really excited. I sent the link to Max to show him, and I thought he would be excited, but instead he went absolutely insane at me. He called me screaming and demanded that I take the video down, like he was scary on that phone call. I initially was hesitant to take it down because it was performing really well, but after an hour, I took it down because he said he was going to file a takedown request on my whole account and the video if I didn't remove it myself. Now, my son was invited to go watch a movie at the cinema on Saturday this week, but Max is now saying they won't be going unless they can pick up my son and me not attend, which will not happen. So Max is now excluding my son from meeting up with his friend, which is entirely unfair on my son. So the question was, am I the astronaut for posting a heartwarming video of my friend? Yeah, you can't post videos of someone else's kids without consent. You shouldn't post videos of other people, like especially private moments, without consent. It was an asshole thing to do. Let's just say that. It was definitely an asshole thing to do, to not get permission to do that first. It was their moment. Like, you were a spectator there, and yeah, you were lucky to have witnessed it and to have captured it. The proper play would have been to edit it up, send them a link to it. Okay, this is one of those things where, like, this is the private moment for you guys. I wanted to film it and capture it because it's just a beautiful moment. Now, here's the video. You do what you want with it. If you want to post it, cool. Please tag me at, and then you can repost. Right, like, you could still share this with your audience and not go a route that violates anybody's privacy. As a friend, this was an asshole move. I would say as a content creator, this is still an asshole move. It's just not, it's not something that you should do. Definitely with kids involved, especially with kids who are part of the system involved. There may be some legalities there involved on that level too. So yeah, it was an asshole move. Where specifically? I think it's a 2 for me. You definitely should not have done this. I don't think it wasn't malicious. I don't think OP realizes that you shouldn't do this. I don't think OP has hit this kind of scenario before and was really confused by the reaction there as well. And I think on the fostering side of things, it's more complicated. So I'm sure there's a lot OP doesn't know here, but in general, now you know, get consent from someone before sharing content that features them, specifically if it's a private moment in like a really sentimental moment for them. There was a way to do this. And again, I think it was to edit it up and to send it to him as a gift and be like, hey, I made this for you. It's awesome. I think so. Do what you want with it. And if you do post it, please tag me so I can share it with my audience. And that's the end of it. Then you still get to do something cool, and you still have the possibility of sharing it with your audience, but you're not violating anybody's privacy, and you're not ruining any kind of friendship that you had there before. OP was just looking to go viral. He's an AskCon 4. It's 2 for me. He definitely shouldn't have done it. Definitely shouldn't have done it. Shaz, what if the bio parents saw it and found him? That's what I mean. The fostering kid with kids in the system, it is more complicated. So definitely shouldn't do that. Doing it just for clout sucks. If you had done this because it was a heartfelt moment and then shared it to Max and let him make the decision on what to do with it, that would have been like, yes, this is coming from a good place. But the fact that you just went, captured it, edited it, sent it straight to TikTok without even telling him until after it had been performing well for a while. Yeah, it's an asshole move. It's an asshole move. The only reason you're not going 1 is because I don't think you realize that you shouldn't do this. And now you know. So if you ever make this mistake again, yeah, you're an AskCon 1. You're the worst. There's your ignorance has helped you in this situation, not be full-blown asshole. Full-blown asshole sounds wrong too. Ooh. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with another Reddit story for you. This comes from the mother-in-law subreddit, and it's also one of these. Spicy story. Once again, making the disclaimer for the book talk, folks. This is not spicy like risque. Don't worry. We're going to talk about or anything like that. Title of this story from the mother-in-law subreddit is Mother-in-law Taught My Daughter to Lie. What? That was too far?
Stop saying it.
I'm just trying to figure out what it was that was too far. My 39 male mother-in-law has taught my daughter to lie. Attempts to talk this out with her have gone completely sideways. My wife, 39 female, is pregnant. She doesn't need the stress, and I could use tips on how to handle this. Please fire away. A few months ago, I noticed that my 5-year-old daughter started asking me not to tell her mom about treats she got at my mother-in-law's house. When I picked her up, she'd whisper that mother-in-law gave her donuts and ice cream with no actual food, just sweets. I discussed this with my wife, and we initially thought it was a one-time thing, but it kept happening several times a week. On the way home, my daughter would tell me that Granny gave her a treat and asked her to keep it a secret. After the third or fourth time, I directly spoke to my mother-in-law and father-in-law. I explained that my daughter needs real food, not just sugar, and that these treats make bedtime difficult because she's too hyped up. I also mentioned that asking our daughter to keep secrets from her mother is unacceptable, as it sets a bad precedent. I thought this would resolve the issue, but unfortunately, it didn't. As far as I can tell, they just told me what I wanted to hear. About a month ago, the situation escalated beyond treats. My mother-in-law's habit of encouraging my daughter to keep secrets has led to other concerning behaviors. 1, my daughter now does things she knows are wrong and asks one parent not to tell the other. She spoke to a stranger in our yard and asked him not to tell me. Thankfully, he did. What the? That's the only one you need as evidence for all of this. 3, she's also started asking random people we meet to keep secrets from us. Holy shit. This is dangerous for obvious reasons, but the gravity of the situation seems lost on my mother-in-law. We've tried discussing it with her twice, but both attempts have failed. My wife has taken the lead because it's her mother, and I'm trying to stay calm. I have a strong protective instinct when it comes to my daughter, and if I get involved, things will escalate quickly. My wife is the caring one. I'm more like the nuke option. The first conversation with my wife and my mother-in-law ended in tears and silence. Mother-in-law refused to acknowledge that she had done anything wrong, despite our daughter telling us that Granny asked her to keep secrets. Mother-in-law deflected, blaming TV, school, or something we had shown her instead. Next, they sent us a message stating that they were going to come to our house, sit us down, and send our daughter off with the relatives so they could talk to us about this. Guys, I don't know how it works in your house, but in this house, nobody calls the shots but us. I wouldn't have agreed to that anyway, but the meeting was postponed because we had COVID. When we informed them, my mother-in-law accused my wife of lying, literally called her a liar. If I hadn't been so sick, I would have lost my temper over that, and it's incredibly rude and disrespectful. The second conversation was even worse. After a couple of weeks of no contact, my in-laws called to talk things out. My wife engaged, wanting to meet face-to-face and record the conversation because mother-in-law had a history of forgetting things that make her look bad. They refused to allow her to record, so she tried to resolve it over the phone. During 75% of the call, mother-in-law denied ever asking our daughter to keep secrets. Then she claimed she heard our daughter say it, but didn't think it was important enough to mention. This was a huge red flag for me. Eventually, mother-in-law admitted to it, but quickly pivoted to demanding forgiveness, saying, "But you have to forgive me. I'm her grandma. You're an unforgiving person if you don't." Listen here, bitch biscuit. We ain't doing that. This was pure manipulation. Either my wife forgives her and rug sweeps, or she's labeled unforgiving. Mother-in-law then topped it off by comparing my wife to a family member she despises and has bad-mouthed for years. My wife left that combo in hysterics, sobbing. So here we are. My pregnant wife is stressed out, which isn't good for our unborn child. We've had several serious talks with our daughter about the issues this has caused, discussions about keeping secrets, the difference between food and treats, and the importance of trust. We're talking constantly. I want my daughter to have a good relationship with the family, but this issue needs to be addressed. I'm struggling to keep my cool and not come in hot. So there it is. Give it to me straight. And to help give us some give it to me straight feedback is the one and only Candy Thunder once again.
Oh my God, it's Candy Thunder.
I'm speechless. Y'all know me. You know I'm not speechless very often, but I am speechless because when called out for it, she blamed her school and everything else but herself instead of taking accountability for the fact that she taught her granddaughter bad behavior, and then finally admits to it and is like, yeah, but it's not that big a deal. It's not that big a deal that she's telling strangers to keep secrets from her parents. That's a huge in our relationship. I'm the nuclear option, and he would be the not nuclear option because I would come unglued. I would just come unglued at somebody who told, let's just say Navy, because she's our youngest, if someone was watching her and told her to keep a secret from us, like the people who are supposed to keep her safe are supposed to know everything about them at that age, and they told her to keep a secret from us, I would come unglued.
Problem
I would
is
be raging pissed off.
that if you're the nuke option for this, like my non-nuke option is a nuke option for this. So like there's no alternative but the nuke option here. This is okay. So I'm trying to figure out why the relationship between her and granddaughter is being allowed to continue.
There would be no.
It only has to be like for monetary reasons, right? Saving on a sitter. That's the only thing I could think of. And if that is the only reason that she still is watching your kid, look at it this way. What is it worth to prevent this lifelong damage that's happening right now? What is it worth to prevent something terrible happening to your daughter because of the shit that grandma taught her? What is it worth to put a stop to that? It is worth a f***ing sitter or daycare or whatever it is. Grandma's no longer an option because it's dangerous. What she has been teaching your daughter to do is dangerous. She is not allowed to watch her anymore. And if she is going to be around her, it's going to be supervised.
This person would not be around our child.
Nope.
They just would not, because you have taught a 5-year-old what it means to lie, what you can get out of lying, she gets things for lying to her parents. So now she is 5, she's impressionable, and she equates lying with good things instead of not understanding what a lie actually is.
Because she's been raised in a household where she's been safe and doesn't understand the dangerous part of it. She doesn't understand there's danger on the other side of lying. There's danger on keeping things from your parents. She doesn't understand the danger part of it yet. And mother-in-law, grandma has just walked her right out into the middle of the road. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she doesn't understand. It's going to take a long time to undo the damage that's been done here. And that damage can only be undone if mother-in-law/grandma is not around to undo it every time.
She knows what she did was wrong because she lied about doing it. She knows whether she says that she should be forgiven or not. She knows what she did. And just take some accountability. If this woman had taken accountability and was like, I looked at it this way and I didn't look at it this way, and I am sorry for what I did, you can rebuild from that. Somebody who comes in and says, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything. She learned it at school.
And you have to apologize to me now.
And then says, oh, well, I did it. And then wants you to apologize. That is not something you can rebuild. Your wife's mom just made it so much worse by not taking accountability for her actions.
Ask on one, Grandma. Sending you there. Also, we're giving some additional modifier rewards to Grandma here. You get the Bizzo, the Delulu.
If anyone tells your kids to keep a secret from their parents, like they already need to know that is unacceptable. And so that is a conversation that we have to have.
Yeah.
Grandparent or not, you do not get the right to have your grandchild lie to their parent.
Yep.
It does not matter. It does not matter that you're related by blood. That does not make you family, because in this moment you are not a good mentor and not a good grandparent to your grandchild. You actually did damage and didn't own up to the damage, and therefore you do not get to have a relationship.
Which means that she doesn't have the child's best interest at heart.
No.
She's only worried about herself. So that means that the time that she's spending with your child is self-serving time. It's not about doing what's best for her. It's not about taking care of her. It's not about keeping her safe and loved. It is about filling up her own cup by having a kid around for fun. And Grandma got to ask on one the first time. She got to ask on one before denying it and trying to flip it around and victimize herself. She was already asked on one. Now she's just pushed into the stratosphere of the asshole verse. She's terrible. You cannot allow this woman around your children. She has to earn her way back. And you know what? She's going to throw that. That is going to be a 3-ring circus whenever you deliver that news and be like, hey, bye.
He said, I'm struggling to keep my cool and not come in hot.
Come in hot, brother.
You need to come in hot.
Come in hot.
This is the time where you need to respond accordingly. And you need to respond with the energy that you've been given. And that's some bullshit. So.
Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with yet another Reddit story for you. This one is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Escalating a Heated Argument in Front of Kids, which had to be diffused by coaches? I mean, the way that you've written the title sure sounds like you are. My son in grade school plays for a soccer team. Today at practice, a heated altercation happened between me and another parent. The other parent has a child on a younger team, but they were practicing with us today. Only important from the perspective that I won't see this parent around again. I was practicing with my kid before practice began. We were using the fence as a goal. The goals weren't around today. We were there for 5 to 10 minutes before the mom showed up and stood by the fence where my son was shooting. My first thought was, well, this is odd. Why did she choose this place out of all places? She also kept staring at me/us. I didn't make much of it until after the incident and looked annoyed. Well, we kept practicing. My son kicked the ball in her direction a couple of times, accidentally. Also, he's a very soft kicker and can't kick the ball hard. One of the times, the dad came over and asked the mom, "Are you okay? Did it hit you? Did they say anything?" At first, I thought, wait, are they referring to my son's kick? No way, that was such a soft kick. Maybe someone else kicked in her direction. The dad started standing by the mom and we kept practicing. After 5 minutes, my son accidentally kicked in her direction again. Then the dad said, I don't know if it was to me or my son, "If this ball comes this way again, I'm going to kick it over the fence." I responded with, "For what? We've been practicing here. We were practicing here before you showed up. Go somewhere else." He rambled some more and I said, "F off." He approached me physically until he was within a foot of me. He said, "You want to You want all this smoke? You don't. You want to go? Let's go." And I said, "Dude, you've got 10 to 20 years on me, but you're acting like half my age. Get the out of my face." That's when the coaches showed up and diffused the situation. I definitely played a part in escalating the situation, especially with kids around. Not really within earshot of our heated incident, though. But I'm sure that they could have seen that we were verbally arguing about something. Judge me based on the above, but I'll add these 2 extra details. After the coaches diffused the situation, I walked away, and the dad was trying to apologize to me, and I just laughed and walked away, and he started saying, "Aw, keep crying." This happened at the beginning of practice. At the end of practice, we were walking away, and he said, "Hey man, have a good one," in an apologetic tone. Again, I didn't acknowledge him, but my son overheard him telling other parents, "It's okay, some people are like that." Okay, so the title was, Am I the Astronaut for Escalating a Heated Argument in Front of the Kids, which had to be diffused by coaches? I mean, yeah, I think it is still an ESH. I'm going to officially go with that, but I do want to dive into OP specifically here because there was no need for any of this to happen. I'm sure there was some Papa Bear things going on here because it was his kid and he thought this guy could have been talking to his kid, and he's like, "Hey, number one, this is a soccer field. They don't have the goals out, so what do you want us to use? We were shooting here before she came and stood over here." I understand that. Getting as heated as you did probably didn't need to happen in front of your kid. But I understand how you got there. So for you specifically, for me, OP, I think it is a 3. I don't think you're a huge asshole. Like, the shitty thing is our kids are always watching us and learning how to do everything based on how we do it, right? So your conflict resolution here by telling somebody to f off, not that I don't agree with it, but you do have to understand that's what you're modeling right then as well. And if the other kids could hear you, you're modeling that to them too. So that's not great. It's not great. It's a 3 for me. It's an ESH overall. Youth sports is a breeding ground for parental confrontation. And I think part of the reason is that youth sports is parents can attend practice. When you get into the school sports, junior high and above, it's a closed practice. Parents don't get to come sit and watch everything, right? There's probably less bickering that's going to happen there. But yeah, this kind of shit does happen, and there are a lot of parents like this. You didn't need to go as hard as you did at it, so you could have done it differently, or you should have done it a little bit differently. But I get where you're coming from here. But OP walking away was good. Yeah, Rebecca, the other dad was way over the top. Yeah, getting all puffed up because a ball rolled toward his wife. Well, was she over there like, "I can't believe it. I'm standing on the side of a soccer field and a soccer ball rolled towards me. John, help me. Protect me." Hey, it's Dusty Thunder again. This time I've got a petty revenge story for you. This one is called That's the Last OK Boomer I'll Hear From Her. Refilling the ink on my wife's printer today reminded me of this one. It was my final day before I began retirement. Actually, a half day, about 30 minutes before lunch. The new printer for the new Gen Z receptionist had arrived. I had always made it my duty to unpack and install new computer equipment because 1, I could make sure it was done correctly, and 2, I enjoyed doing it. I brought the printer into the receptionist's office and told her what I was about to do. She said she could handle it. I said it's my job and my pleasure. She told me she had done it before and that she did not need a man to do it for her. I asked if it would be okay if I at least unpacked it for the documents inside. She says, "Okay, boomer." You could hear the snark in her voice, as if she had rolled her eyes any further back, she would have been looking out her ears. So I opened the box, grabbed the shipping docks, and left the instructions and ink bottles nearby. Then I lifted out the printer to make sure everything was in there. Opening the little door where the ink is loaded, I saw 4 stoppers: magenta, cyan, yellow, and black, left to right, all in that order. About an hour or so later, my retirement luncheon was interrupted by a phone call to my now former boss. Big problem, the new printer was printing all kinds of weird colors and the receptionist could not figure out what was wrong. The boss asked if I had any suggestions. I told him she's smart enough to handle it and that she didn't need an old boomer like me to do it for her. The boss relayed my comments to her word for word, made a few suggestions of his own, hung up, turned to me, and asked what could be wrong. Maybe she mixed up the colors when she was loading the inks. I found out later that the receptionist got scolded for not letting me do my job one last time so that it would have been done right. She also got scolded for obviously not following the instruction manual. The boss kept her on anyway. All it took was shifting the colored caps 1 reservoir to the right and putting the black cap on the far left reservoir. No color printers were damaged during the commission of this petty revenge. Very nice, sir. It wasn't even that, it's not even super petty. It's just, no, she said no. So no, I guess. She kind of chose that fate for herself. And to the receptionist, I'd be like, how does that sock taste? Is it like linty? Does it just take all the moisture from your mouth? And how long did you have to chew on that sock? Because that's what happened. Also, to be so brazen and then to completely it up. I understand not needing someone else to do something for you. I get it. And for a lady, I understand not wanting a man to do everything for you. I get it completely. I support it. However, when you don't know what the you're doing and you're just taking things on because you want to be independent to the detriment of the organization you're working at, that's a problem, right? that maybe you're taking it a little bit too far. Maybe when there's a specialist who can help with a specific thing, you let the people who know what they're doing in that thing do it. But to you, OP, I think you played this perfectly well. You didn't bitch about it. You didn't bitch about it at all to your now former boss. You didn't bitch about anything. You were like, she doesn't need an old boomer like me. Maybe she got the ink cartridges mixed up. And he knew immediately what it was. He knew immediately. Wait, he didn't touch the packs. Did I screw that up? So I opened the box, grabbed the shipping docks, and left the instructions and ink bottles nearby. Then I lifted out the printer to make sure everything was there. Opening the little door where the ink is loaded, I saw 4 stoppers: magenta, cyan, yellow, and black, left to right, all in that order. He saw them, but he didn't mix them up. All it took was shifting the little color caps 1 reservoir to the right and putting the black cap on the far left reservoir. That was in order to fix it. That's what she needed to do to fix it. Yeah, the last line doesn't say that he didn't sabotage it. No, he said all it took to fix it was that. I don't know, maybe I'm misunderstanding this. All it took was shifting the colored caps 1 reservoir to the right and putting, OP didn't touch anything. I don't know. Hey, Dusty Thunder here, and I wanted to thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that content, and if you did, please make sure to like, subscribe, and most importantly, share. Also, you can find swag and so much more at dusty-thunder.com, and you'll find even more content on all of our platforms. We're on TikTok, YouTube. We now have an official Facebook page that we'll be posting stories to as well. We have podcasts on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and so much more. You can see all of our content platforms on Linktree, which is linked in my bio. Engage with us wherever you're enjoying content, and do your best to avoid the Askonauts today. Thanks again.